We are now called together, called by bell and bird, called by mountains and plains, called by the beat of our hearts to join again the living tradition we share, to answer again the call of justice and love. Today, with the bell ringing from the Metropolitan Cathedral in Mexico City and the turquoise-fronted Amazon parrot calling from the trees of Brazil, let us remember the second of our tradition sources, words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love.
Well, it's Ramadan, so let's greet each other and pass the peace with words from Arabic. The greeting is Assalamu alaikum, and the reply is Wa alaikum salam. Assalamu alaikum. Please rise and pass the peace to those around you, and remain standing for the opening hymn.
Very last thing.
Yeah, these are very Christian-y things
How you doing?
Number 358 in the gray hymnal, rank by rank, again we stand.
And welcome.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Martin, your celebrant for this morning.
And I'm the Reverend Meredith Garmon, he, him, minister to this congregation.
Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. A special welcome to our visitors. And for you on Zoom, you know the routine. Okay. And if you are here with children, there is childcare for infants and toddlers downstairs, or feel free to keep children with you. Or you can use the play area in the back anytime when necessary.
We open this gathering with an acknowledgement of the lands, waters, plants, and animals, humans and otherwise, whose being is bound up with our own in mutual dependence, and whose ghosts are among us here. 13,000 years ago, the first humans arrived here, starting with the Clovis culture, then the Folsom and Dalton. 3,000 years ago, the woodland culture was beginning its predominance in the region. From 200 to 500 CE, the Hopewell tradition was a dominant influence on the peoples here. By 1300, the Oneida were here. The Iowa arrived in the 16th century, followed by the Sauk and Meskwaki migrating from the Great Lakes areas from which European incursion pushed them out. Non-human animals, now extinct or in much diminished numbers, have also been here. These include the heath hen, extinct since 1932, once inhabited these lands. This location's past calls us occupying it now, in the present, to join the work of education and healing for all species.
And bring awareness also to our current location in the rhythms of nature. Today is the 11th Sunday of winter. 2 more to go until spring. The moon was new on Thursday and is now waxing crescent. The first sighting of the new crescent moon signals the beginning of Ramadan, the Muslim holy month. Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, the month in which the Quran is believed to have been revealed to Muhammad. Ramadan is observed by fasting from sunup to sundown, by prayer, reflection, and community gathering. And on the Christian calendar, Lent begins with Ash Wednesday on March 5th. For newcomers to our congregation who may be curious to learn a little bit more about us, every first Sunday of the month, we have a curiosity conversation in the back of this room. And since today is the first Sunday of the month, you are in luck. And there will be one just after the service and back in that room. So you can grab your coffee and snacks and join the others.
This year's curriculum for spiritual growth and learning is sketched in the thematic ministry flyer available on the back table of the front shelf. Our connection circles will be exploring this month's theme for March, which is dignity. If you're new here, you can sign up for a connection circle on the sheets on the back, and copies of the dignity packet are now available in the basket on the table just outside those back doors. And now we light our chalice.
The living tradition that we share draws from many sources. Today, we dedicate our chalice to the second source of the living tradition that we share. Words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transformative power of love. Please join in the chalice lighting from Vance Bass on the screen. Every day brings struggle. Every day brings joy. Every day brings us the opportunity to ease the struggle of another and be the joy in another's life. May this flame remind us to carry our light to each other and to the world.
We are a people of covenant, not of creed, and we express our covenant in our denomination's bylaws, our bond of union, our mission, and our relational covenant. Today, please join me in affirming our congregation's mission. We covenant together to advance our mission to love radically, grow ethically and spiritually, and serve justly.
For our responsive invocation, please respond with the words in yellow italics. I can't see those words over here. This house is for the ingathering of nature and human nature. It is the house of friendships, a haven in trouble, an open room for the encouragement of our struggle. It is a house of freedom, guarding the dignity and worth of every person. It offers a platform for the free voice, for declaring, both in times of security and danger, the full and undivided conflict of opinion. It is a house of truth-seeking, where scientists can encourage devotion to their quest, where mystics can abide in a community of searchers. It is a house of art, adorning its celebrations with melodies and handiworks. It is a house of prophecy, outrunning times past and times present, in visions of growth and progress. This house is a cradle for our dreams, the workshop of our common endeavor.
Open my heart to all that life brings. Let me be part of the love that's given.
After the story, children are to gather in the back so that you all may go to fun downstairs. Hi, I'm Spot, and I'm just not an ordinary Spot. I'm a little respectful Spot.
A respectful spot. I've never seen a respectful spot before. What does respectful mean?
Being respectful means to show people you care about them, and you also care about yourself. Today, I'm going to show you some examples of how you can respect people, places, and things.
Yay! I can't wait to learn.
Let's start with things. You might have things like school supplies, and we want to make them last a long time, right? Here are some ways to respect your things. Close the caps on markers and glue so they don't dry out. Use things the way they're meant to be used so they don't get damaged. Clean up your area when you're done so nothing gets lost.
So you have to take care of your things like they're important, right?
Exactly. And some things need to be handled carefully, like scissors. And here's how to respect scissors. Sit while you cut, and pass the scissor handles first to someone else. Always walk slowly when holding scissors. And if you don't have something you want, ask to use it instead of just taking it.
Oh, I'll make sure to ask for things, not just grab them.
Right. And here's a fun tip. Play with one thing at a time. And when you're done, put it away. That way, you know where to find it next time.
I like that idea. What about books? I love reading.
Oh, books are fun to read, but we need to be respectful while reading too. You can respect books by turning the pages carefully, keeping them clean by using clean hands, and always keeping food and drinks away so they don't spill.
Oh, I didn't think about keeping them clean. I'll be extra careful with books now.
Now, let's talk about respecting places. A place could be your house, your school, a store, or even a library. Each place has its own rules. You can respect places by knowing the rules and following them, not coloring on the walls or furniture, only on paper, and walking slowly inside to avoid breaking anything or hurting yourself.
Right. And you can't leave trash around.
Exactly. You can respect places by keeping them clean, putting trash in the garbage or recycling it. And if you see a sidewalk, use it. Walk on it instead of stepping on grass or rocks.
Yeah, I don't want to get blisters from walking on rocks without shoes.
Good point. Now, let's talk about respecting people. It's not only important to respect people your own age, but also those who are older or younger than you. You can respect people by saying please and thank you, following instructions by listening with your ears and watching with your eyes, raising your hand, and waiting your turn when someone else is speaking. And giving people personal space so they feel comfortable around you.
I like that. What else can we do to respect people?
Well, you can respect them by being patient and waiting your turn in line, keeping your hands to yourself, and staying quiet when needed.
That's a lot of ways to be respectful.
Yep, and I hope you had fun learning about it. Oh, and guess what? I have some other spots to introduce to you.
Other spots? Tell me more.
We all belong to the happiness family. There's thankful spot, peaceful spot, honest spot, organized spot, kindness spot, and courage spot. We all work together to spread happiness and respect everywhere.
So many yellow spots.
Yep, and we're here to help everyone learn how to be the best little respectful spots they can be.
I can't wait to be a respectful spot too.
Great. Keep being respectful and the world will be a better place.
Yay! I'm going to try my best.
And remember, every little spot counts.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ken Ohms, he, him. I started coming to First Unitarian Church near the end of 2023. About that time in my life, I was at a point where I kind of needed to reboot my sense of community and have somewhere to kind of grapple with some of those weightier types of questions that, we kind of all get from time to time. I hadn't really had a religious home as an adult, despite going to church fairly regularly growing up. Nothing ever quite seemed to mesh with the values and the worldview that I'd kind of developed. But First Unitarian has been an excellent spiritual home and community for me. It's really more than a place to just visit for an hour on Sunday. There are, a plethora of opportunities available to get involved through discussion and learning groups, putting our collective faiths and values into actions through volunteering and supporting other causes, as well as general socializing and entertainment events. And it takes a tremendous amount of effort and money to keep these things going. So by sharing my time and talents on various committees or teams, as well as making a financial contribution, I feel like I'm doing my part to keep this cosmic journey with us going that we're all navigating. All right, thank you.
Good morning. Sorry for the gravelly voice, getting over a cold. My name is Doug Opperly, he, him, and I'm here for the Social Justice Spotlight on behalf of the Queer and Trans Action Group here at the church, QTAG. I'm here to invite you to respond to Reverend Meredith's call of ways you can get involved. We have a couple of ways you can get involved in social justice this month with our group. First of all, this coming Tuesday, the 11th, you could join our contingent from this church to the One Iowa Day on the Hill event at the Capitol to learn about anti-LGBTQ bills, and participate in a rally and get training on how to talk to your legislators and then actually get a chance to do it. We'll have information out in Griffin Hall about that event if you'd like to pick up a flyer. And the second opportunity is volunteering for the Central Iowa Trans Lives Festival at the end of this month on the 29th. It'll be our 5th such festival. And the festival, for those of you who don't know, is an event that showcases the creative work of our local trans community, artists, craftspeople, musicians, performers, writers, with all sorts of merchandise, their creative work up for sale here in the church, performances in this auditorium. So it's a big all-day event. We need lots of volunteers. So Janice will be out there with information about different ways you can volunteer for a little 2-hour shift during the day. If you're coming down to enjoy the festival, it's another great way to help. So thank you.
Chapter 8, Miguel Serveto, Part 2. Miguel Serveto, also known as Michael Servetus, wrote a book on the errors of the Trinity, published in 1531, the year he turned 22. He argued that Jesus' human nature and Christ's nature came into being at the same time. In other words, the Son was not co-eternal with the Father. The Catholics were deeply invested in Trinitarian orthodoxy, as they had been ever since 325 and the Council of Nicaea. The Protestants weren't as invested in the Trinity, but what they were invested in was not having any more fights with the Catholics than they had to. Protestants were dealing with harsh backlash as it was, and they didn't want to also be tarred as anti-Trinitarian, which in the minds of the authorities of the time meant at best being guilty of the Arian heresy, or at worst of abandoning Christianity and reverting to Judaism, as the case of Katarzyna Wajglała seemed to confirm. So Protestants were actually more virulent than Catholics in denouncing Miguel Serveto and his book. Serveto changed his name to Michel de Villeneuve, fled to Paris, then to Vienne, France, where he led a quiet life as an editor and a doctor of medicine for 22 years. Then the bug for theology got into him again, and in 1553 he published Restitution of Christianity. It was published anonymously without identification of either the author or the publisher. But the authorities began digging and soon deduced that the author of Restitution of Christianity, Michel de Villeneuve, Miguel Serveto, and the author of On the Errors of the Trinity were all the same person.
We've got the rhythm. Good morning, everyone. I'm John Morrow, he, him, Pastoral Care Associate for our congregation. You are invited to call upon the pastoral care team if you are going through any significant transition in your life, just to talk it over. Reach out to us at pastoralcareteam@ucdsm.org. You can always request assistance, volunteer to provide it, or submit a joy or sorrow through the Caring Committee page on our website, or by speaking to me or any member of the pastoral care team. We have the following joys and sorrows to share. Many of us were drawn to this faith community precisely because it allowed us or our loved ones to be fully embraced as their authentic selves. So there are many of us who are brokenhearted right now at the legislation that was fast-tracked and passed this week that removes gender identity as a protected class from the Iowa Civil Rights Code. Let it be said again and again, you are whole, holy, and beloved members of this community. We share in your pain, and we will continue to side with you. Side with love and side with justice. We continue to hold Jan Svek in our hearts as he undergoes a new treatment for his cancer. For all those who are contending with an illness, injury, addiction, or new diagnosis, we wish you strength and dignity and health. We extend comfort to those grieving, compassion to the caregivers, and understanding to those coping with difficult transitions in their lives. Time and time again, we will practice opening our hearts as we put love at the center of all we do. And in this beloved community, we celebrate joys together. Karen Massetti Miller is celebrating her retirement after 30 years in the learning and development field, including 15 supporting the Defense Health Agency's Patient Safety Program. She's looking forward to time spent reading, traveling, and clearing out the clutter that has gathered in the basement. So, I can relate to that. Let us share together now the names of anyone we know who could use some special care and attention. You may call the name out loud or type it into the chat. And as we share these names, may the love of this community hold them all.
Dear Spirit of life and love, we pray that we might hear our own heart's yearnings, and that we might then guide ourselves intentionally by what we express. When times are challenging, people of goodwill must rise to the challenge. And every time has its challenges, these times particularly so. From Palestine to Myanmar, Haiti to Sudan, the world is experiencing the highest number of conflicts since the end of World War II. Almost 19% of the world's children, over 473 million, now live in conflict zones. 47.2 million have been displaced by conflicts and violence. Nearer at home, we are aggrieved at the Iowa State Legislature's removal of gender identity as a protected class under the Iowa Civil Rights Code. How shall we rise to these challenges? How shall we be bringers of compassion and justice, of kindness and respect among those who perpetrate or even celebrate cruelty? May these questions be always in our minds, and may they guide our actions. Always, there are people of courage and conviction, of integrity and service. May we be among them. Amen.
May the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May we breathe in awareness of every pain and grief and breathe out compassion and comfort. We light 3 candles, one for the joys and sorrows shared aloud, one for those shared in writing, and one for those held silently among us. For all of these, we now observe a minute of silence.
Where there is confusion or pain in your life, try making use of it instead of trying to get rid of it. Trying to get rid of it usually doesn't work anyway, or it only makes things worse. Of course, if your painful situation can be resolved somehow, then resolve it. Otherwise, try accepting it and looking for the lesson it contains. Whatever comes into our consciousness will spur a reaction in us. And this reaction will be one of 3. We will either like, dislike, or be neutral. Greed, hate, and delusion are the emotional activities we indulge in response to liking, disliking, and feeling neutral. We are greedy for what attracts us, we hate what repels us, and we're confused or indifferent about neutral objects. Turn things around means turning the 3 reactions and the emotions that go with them into seeds of virtue. Things constantly arise. We're constantly trying to grab them and make them stay or push them away as soon as possible, depending on our style of reactivity and emotion. The flow of these objects and emotions goes on constantly, usually below the level of conscious awareness. 3 seeds of virtue appear when we turn around our standard reactions. We don't have control of much, but we do have control of whether to turn around the greed, hatred, and delusion that appears in our lives. The basic human mess of likes and dislikes in which we seem to be trapped, which seems to be dangerous and troublesome, is actually a treasure. Our messes and our problems are our treasures. Our suffering, our troubles, our problems, the things we really don't like, the things we want to get rid of but can't, or the losses we feel, the things we wanted to keep and sadly cannot. All of this is a treasure to us if we can understand it the right way. Everything painful and difficult has the potential to bring us great joy and deep spiritual riches. We can turn toward and appreciate our suffering, our problems, and the suffering and problems of others. Turn things around means recognizing that our very likes and dislikes and the suffering they bring us can be the source of spiritual growth. So try writing down, turn things around. Try to fix it in memory. And when you find yourself annoyed or upset by instances of liking or disliking that are causing you suffering, think, turn things around. This practice might help you to let go a little in that moment, and even if you don't believe it and are only a little intrigued by it, it might be helpful to practice this slogan. If you have, it will have the effect of causing you to stop your lamentation for just a moment and recall that it might just be possible that there is some potentially good and positive in this agony in which you are right now enmeshed.
And now we come to the offering. Recalling again the second source of the living tradition we share, words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transformative power of love. In the spirit of gratitude, we mention 3 items from our gratitude board in Griffin Hall. Actually, I have 2 items. Thank you to Terry Meek for sustaining our coffee hour and creating a welcoming, warm environment for all week after week after week. And thank you to Chelsea Hayes, passionate and dedicated leader, bringing infectious enthusiasm to her work with our children and also support for our church in stewardship and so many ways. The morning offering then is gratefully given and gratefully received.
Our theme for March is dignity. Last spring, when Faith and I were discussing what themes to have for the upcoming year, we decided to include dignity because the new Article 2 bylaws of our denomination, the Unitarian Universalist Association, speak of dignity under the equity value. The bylaws say, equity. We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. This clearly echoes the historic UU First principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person or every being. So, what is this dignity thing that our faith affirms? I'm going to attempt to begin an answer to that question, and I will be very interested in what contributions you might make toward answering that question. It will be the topic of today's forum after the service. Proto-Indo-European is the hypothetical original source language from which the 500 or so Indo-European languages derive. Linguists think that the English word dignity derived from the Proto-Indo-European dec, which meant to take, accept. By the time it had become the Latin dignitas, it meant worthiness or merit, suggesting something that's acknowledged or accepted as valuable. When we treat someone with dignity, we take or accept that they are worthy of respect, honor, esteem. Dignity is conferred by acknowledging worth. Generally, up until modern times, it was understood that not everyone could be regarded as having worth. Stoic philosophers like Seneca, born 4 BCE, and Epictetus, born 50 CE, had a counterpoint. They maintained that all humans have an inner worth due to their rational nature, regardless of external status. But theirs was very much a minority viewpoint. For most of the Roman and on through the medieval world, dignity was reserved for the special, the noble. This meaning is still present in words like dignitary or dignified. Augustine, born 354, did say that all humans have a divine essence, and Christian thinkers have often invoked the concept of imago Dei, creation in the image of God. But not until centuries later did it become popular to say that this meant all humans have dignity. In Islamic thought, there's a passage in the Quran declaring that God has bestowed dignity on all humans. Muslim scholars Al-Farabi, born 870, and Ibn Sina, born 980, emphasized rationality as central to human dignity. Along similar lines, Thomas Aquinas, born 1225, built on Aristotle, arguing that dignity comes from rationality and moral capacity given by God. Pico della Mirandola, born 1463, wrote Oration on the Dignity of Man, which emphasized human potential and freedom and strengthened the idea of universal dignity. In England, John Locke, born 1632, argued that all humans are equal and possess natural rights. Immanuel Kant, born 1724, transformed dignity into a moral concept, saying all rational beings have intrinsic worth, should be treated as equals, and not as a means only. While these philosophers' ideas were gradually seeping into the general populace, most people still thought of dignity as a property of the dignified dignitaries and not a property of the hoi polloi rabble. Before about 1830, writes Remy Debes, neither the English term dignity, nor its Latin root dignitas, nor the French counterpart dignité, had any stable currency as meaning the unearned status or worth of all persons, let alone the grounds for universal rights or equality. So what was it that changed around 1830? Well, the abolition movement to end slavery was picking up steam. That and early labor rights movements were driven by the idea that all humans have dignity regardless of race or class. And then finally, in 1948, in response to the atrocities of World War II, the new United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Its Article 1 declared all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. The Catholic Church's Vatican II in 1965 affirmed human dignity as central to ethics and has been invoked in every 20th and 21st century social justice movement, including the civil rights movement, the feminist movement, the LGBTQ rights movement, the workers' rights movements. Policies that ensure access to health care, to education, or social services are apt to be framed as affirmations of human dignity. Advocates of criminal justice reform invoke dignity. The argument that the death penalty is incompatible with dignity of human life was a contributing factor to the European Union banning the death penalty. These are examples of dignity used as a grounding for individual autonomy, human rights, personal freedoms, and protections. But on the other hand, conservative perspectives might appeal to dignity in support of traditional values, social harmony, respect for authority. Communitarian perspectives appeal to dignity as embedded in relationships and social structures, arguing that dignity demands social policies that uphold communal well-being rather than just individual rights. Some non-Western societies critique Western conceptions of dignity for imposing individualistic values that don't always align with their cultural traditions. You know, the stone soup story in which a stranger shows up in town and claims to have a magic stone that will produce nutritious soup merely by being placed in simmering water. The stranger then coaxes the villagers to make the soup even better by adding some cabbage, some carrots, maybe some beans, onions, etc. In the end, it's all the other ingredients that do the work of making soup. We may wonder whether dignity is like the stone in stone soup. We get one sort of soup if we add in human rights, another sort if we add in traditional values and respect for authority, another if we add in structures of relationship and communal well-being. Dignity may be claimed as the support for any of these, but maybe human rights or traditional values or whatever sort of soup we may be desiring can stand on its own. We don't need that stone thrown into the pot. Or do we? The hungry villagers were unable to bring forth those other ingredients and produce a communal pot of soup until coaxed to do so by the stranger with his stone. So, in some sense, the stone is not superfluous. It's necessary. We have to think of ourselves as beings of worth, bearers of dignity, in order to get any other social or political project going. And the expansion of dignity to apply to everyone reflects a relatively new tendency to want to involve everyone, or as many as we can, in our social and political projects. We might identify 3 broad categories of meaning that dignity has signified across context and history. First, dignity as status, noble or elevated social position or rank. Dignity as what a dignitary has. This sort of dignity, like the word nobility, tends to conflate a standard of character or gravitas with the accident of birth class, though social status can, at least in principle, be attained by those not born to it. Second, there is dignity as dignified behavior. This might be gravitas, a poise, or grace associated with behavioral comportment. This might sometimes be particularly associated with sophisticated manners or elegant speech in which the upper classes are typically trained, but it is not exclusive to class. Or it might indicate composure in the face of insult or duress, a dignified response to hardship that people of any class might display. Or dignified behavior might be living with integrity, living up to personal or social standards of character and conduct, either in one's own eyes or the eyes of others. And third, there is dignity as human dignity, the unearned worth or status that all humans share equally. With the first two, one might have dignity or not. You either have a high social status or it's somewhat less. You either retain composure under stress or you don't. You live with integrity or don't. But this third category of dignity applies to everyone equally always. One's dignity in this sense cannot be increased or diminished. It can only be recognized. This universal dignity can be violated, as when we treat people as not having dignity, or we fail to recognize the worth and value that a person has simply in virtue of being a person. But this is a sense of dignity as something everyone always has, whether it's violated and not recognized or is respected. I'll look more into those three forms of dignity after our interlude. How about something stately? So we have these three dignities: dignity as high status, as being a dignitary; dignity as a standard to live up to, an aspiration to live in a dignified way with composure and integrity and a measure of poise; and dignity as universal, something everyone has and has equally, and so cannot be achieved or aspired to and cannot be lost. The first one I'm not going to pay much attention to. I suppose unequal status will always be a thing among humans, and yes, there's a lot to be said about how higher status is assigned and how it functions, but a concern with dignity today doesn't have much to do with who is a dignitary and who isn't. Rather, it's those other two that are the concern: acting and living with dignity and recognition of universal dignity. And I think both of those are important and valuable. There is something in the area of dignity for us to work on and develop in ourselves: composure and integrity. And there's also something called dignity that is universal and equal and unearned. And both matter. There is, though, this rather obvious tension between aspirational dignity and universal dignity. If we seriously believe in human dignity, and maybe expand the circle beyond humans to a concept of primate dignity, or mammal dignity, or warm-blooded dignity, or vertebrate dignity, or being's dignity. This dignity can't be gained or lost and isn't something to which we need aspire. We might try to deal with this tension by distinguishing between ourselves and others. I might say for myself, I will aspire to composure and poise and integrity. I want to live in a dignified way. And when I have behaved in an undignified manner, I want to learn from that and get better. At the same time, I will regard others as having inherent, equal, universal dignity. But I'm not sure that approach would work. We might cut others more slack than we do ourselves, but if we're paying attention to standards for ourselves, we can't help but notice which other people are models for us to emulate and which ones seem to be exemplifying what we are trying to avoid. Also, if there is a dignity that is universal, then I kind of have to allow that universal includes me too. So I don't think distinguishing between the way I approach myself and the way I approach others helps with this tension between aspirational dignity and universal dignity. I think the idea that will help us here to either resolve the tension or live creatively in the tension is capability. There is, in the world of ideas, a thing called the capabilities approach. The capabilities approach was first developed by Indian economist Amartya Sen in the 1980s. Sen argued that traditional measures of well-being, such as income or utility, are insufficient. Instead, well-being should be evaluated in terms of an individual's capabilities to function. Capabilities are influenced by a range of factors, including income, education, health, and social environment. In the 1990s, American philosopher Martha Nussbaum picked up on Sen's work and began collaborating with him to further develop and expand the capabilities approach. Her book, Women and Human Development, The Capabilities Approach, came out in 2000 and is a key work in the development of that approach. Nussbaum's version of the approach particularly emphasizes human dignity and the opportunities individuals need to lead a flourishing life. True well-being depends not just on GDP and wealth, but on whether people have real opportunities to live a meaningful life. A person with the legal right to vote, but who lacks education or access to polling places, does not truly have the capability to participate in democracy. Providing a wheelchair to a person with a disability is helpful, but real dignity comes from ensuring they have accessible environments to function independently. Thus, instead of looking at what people have, Nussbaum focuses on what they can do and be. Nussbaum identifies 10 essential capabilities that societies should support to encourage human dignity. 1. Life, being able to live a full and life of normal length. 2, bodily health, having good health, adequate nutrition, and shelter. 3, bodily integrity, security from violence and bodily autonomy. 4, senses, imagination, and thought, access to education and intellectual development. 5, emotions, the ability to love and grieve and form meaningful relationships. 6, practical reason, being able to exercise thought and conscience to make choices about one's life. 7, affiliation, the ability to engage in social relationships and be treated with respect. 8, other species, living in a way that respects nature and other life forms. 9, play, the ability to engage in recreation and leisure. 10, control over one's environment, political participation, and property rights. A just society, according to Nussbaum, ensures that every person has the capability to achieve these functions rather than merely providing formal rights without real access. A fair and just distribution of primary goods is important, but we must also consider how individuals can actually use these goods in their real circumstances. Can all their capabilities be exercised? Can their capabilities be developed and brought into full flower? Here we have a way to approach dignity that is both universal and aspirational. What's universal is that we all have these capabilities. We have the universal dignity that we are beings capable of living a lifespan that our genetics allow, capable of bodily health that reasonable nutrition, exercise, sleep, and shelter allows, capable of security from violence and bodily autonomy, capable of learning and intellectual development, capable of loving and grieving and forming meaningful relationships, capable of reflecting on our values and how to live by them in the choices we make, capable of social relationships, friendships, group affiliations within which we're treated with respect, capable of loving and respecting nature and other life forms, capable of play and recreation, capable of political participation and owning things and effectively using what we own. What's universal is that we all have these capabilities, and we have the inherent dignity that comes from having these capabilities. What's aspirational is the fuller development of the capability, the exercise of those capabilities. We don't always get the chance to do what we are capable of, and we'll never have the chance to do all that we are capable of, but we can make a world in which all of us have some chance at all of the 10 basic capabilities. We have the individual aspiration to a life of dignity, to being dignified people who retain grace under pressure, composure under stress, integrity with poise. And we have the collective aspiration to ensure that everybody has the chance to develop their capability for a dignified life, however they might conceive of that. And both the individual and our collective aspiration are grounded in recognition of the universal and equal dignity that we are beings with these capabilities. I said at the beginning that the root of dignity was to take, accept. When we treat someone with dignity, we take or accept that they are worthy of respect, honor, and esteem. What Amartya Sen and Martha Nussbaum help us see more clearly is that it is their capabilities that make them so worthy of respect, honor, and esteem. Some of us haven't had much chance to do and be what we are capable of doing and being, but the capability alone warrants our respect, our esteem, our honor. And by respecting, honoring, and esteeming every person's capabilities, we encourage and assist the use and development of those capabilities and make way for the greater flourishing of all life. May it be so. Amen.
Please rise and bow to your spirit for our closing hymn, Where is Our Holy Church, in the gray hymnal, number 113.
Open
please say with me our unison chalice extinguishing words on the screen. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
May you leave this place knowing that you are good and you are loved. Take your light and your life from this place. Use it to bless the world. And stay safe until we are together again. Go in peace.